Good evening, everyone. I'm just going to quickly start and try to keep it short. As representatives of small agencies, we share a common aspiration, the hope that one day our agencies will grow and be like the giants of our industry. I think the journey from David to Goliath is filled with challenges and opportunities alike. And it is essential that we understand the landscape to navigate it successfully. So I think our discussion is going to focus on the top advantages and disadvantages of scale and the size in our industry. We're looking at delving into several areas like talent, technology, innovation, client relationships. So I'm just going to start. The panel here is, we have Aniruddha, Sarvesh, Manjunath, Aakanksha. I'm going to start by asking questions. Manjunath, if you can. So just wanted to, what are the unique strengths that independent PR firms have that make them more competitive against the larger firms?
So I think a very quick and maybe a lazy answer would be speed and agility, which is true. But I think a bigger strength that a smaller agency has is its ability to navigate change, right? And I'm not talking about change from, I'm talking about change from a very particular point of view of relating to the client and the client's business in a way that you map onto what you're delivering seamlessly to their requirement, right? And I think there were discussions in the panel where talked about how are we adding value, right? And one of the things that the entire industry is kind of trying to navigate is how do we show ROI, right? And I think our ability to provide or map on to the client's needs and provide that one particular thing that actually makes a difference could probably be a huge advantage that we can have.
How do you sort of navigate change, when in a smaller setup? How do you navigate change? How do you value add? What are the things that really benefit a smaller agency compared to the larger ones? Sarvesh, if you could take that.
सबसे पहले तो मैं चाहूँगा सब लोगों के चेहरे पे मुस्कुराहट रहे. शाम होते होते ऐसे ही उतर जाते हैं चेहरे. तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि कम्युनिकेटर का पहला फ़र्ज़ है कि तानसेन और कानसेन की मैं हमेशा बात करता हूँ, दोनों का समन्वय है. द कोऑर्डिनेशन इज़ रिक्वायर्ड, द रिसेप्टिवनेस इज़ रिक्वायर्ड, एंड आई फील दैट लेट अस लिसन एंड स्पीक विथ अ स्माइल. सो बहुत एडवांटेजेस हैं. अगर आप देखो तो सबसे बड़ी एडवांटेज जो मुझे लगता है कि फाउंडर्स के विज़न के साथ बहुत कुछ हो जाता है. सिस्टम तो उसके बाद बनता है. मेरे पास सद्दाम हुसैन आया आज से 10 साल पहले. एक पतला दुबला लड़का था, 12th पास किया था, ग्रेजुएशन में पढ़ रहा था और पढ़ रहा था. ही वॉज 3rd year स्टूडेंट ऑफ ग्रेजुएशन और हिंदी अंग्रेजी दोनों चौपट थी. और बिलीव करो आप, आज वो ऐसा सद्दाम हुसैन है जिसके सामने बड़ी से बड़ी इंटरनेशनल एजेंसी बैठ नहीं सकती है. सो मेरे पास इतना स्पेस था, एक्सेप्टेबिलिटी थी, मेरे पास ट्रेनिंग देने की मेरे पास सहूलियत थी. बड़ी एजेंसी नहीं बर्दाश्त करती है. सो बहुत कुछ देने की कैपेसिटी होती है एक छोटी एजेंसी को. छोटी मैं नहीं कहूँगा, इंडिपेंडेंट एजेंसी को. बड़ी एजेंसी सिस्टम से चलती है. अंग्रेजी में वो ज़रूर कहते हैं व्हेन इन रोम लिव लाइक रोमन्स, बट वो फॉलो नहीं करते हैं. हमारे पास वो स्पेस होता है कि भारत में है तो भारतीय सिस्टम को कैसे हम, यहाँ पे पत्रकार कैसा सोचता है, उस नब्ज़ को पकड़ने के लिए आपको बोर्ड रूम स्ट्रैटेजी की ज़रूरत नहीं, आपको ब्रॉड रोड स्ट्रैटेजी की ज़रूरत पड़ती है. एंड दैट स्पेस इज़ विथ अस. सो आई थिंक दैट इज़ अ बिग लिवरेज विच वी हैव.
Interesting. And would you like to take that? How can we be different? Like, where are the areas where we can compete better or be better compared to the larger ones?
Sure, I think that's a interesting question, Tejal. Before, when you started, you said that all of our small, we are all Davids and we want to be Goliath. I'm not sure if all of us want to be Goliath, and there is a big space for agencies to remain small. And again, small is a very, it's a very fleeting definition, because 100 is small, 200 is small, 1000 can be small. But to the extent of how do we want to approach our businesses? And I think when you want to grow into a Goliath, you are trying to fight for economies of scale, right? So it's like, how can I build such great systems, such great people, such great offices, so that I can handle large business at scale? Our approach has been different, and it's an intentional approach to say that I would rather build economies of depth. And there is a delivery chain for communication. A large enterprise has to serve the entire delivery chain. A small enterprise can say, I will champion this space of the delivery chain. Like for us, it's messaging. It could be anything. But I will go so deep that I will charge 10x of any other large enterprise player in that particular space. So I think, I call it economies of depth. But I think the deeper and deeper you get, there's more money, there's more revenue, and also there's more complexity. So the clients are willing to solve it for you. Which means what? That large and small agencies can handle the same client, one handling across on scale, one across handling deep on depth. So the two can actually collaborate together and do just as great work. That's how I would navigate. I mean, that's one way to navigate change. That's what we've done, is picked a position and try to get as deep as possible, concentrate on it, and say, we will not leave this anchor. Abhi, this is like our bet for life. That is one way we did.
I mean, that's interesting because, I mean, as an entrepreneur, one of the things is you start small and you want to become big. But it's sort of questionable now, you know. So, Aakanksha, my question to you is, are you comfortable in the space you are, or do you envision becoming big? Is becoming big the only vision, or going deep within the space you are? That's something that's something also that is something that people look forward to as well.
So firstly, I don't think we have a common definition of David and Goliath. I don't think we can look at scale as the only metric. I don't think we can look at good work as the only metric. Is it culture? Is that what floats your boat? Is it great people that you're creating? Is that what floats your boat? So for me, being of a certain size, and the size that we are at currently, we talk a lot about fail first and fail fast, because it's so uncertain, right? What the kind of PR we used to do 10 years ago to what PR we do now, and what encompasses PR for that matter, is very, very different. So in a very uncertain world, the ability to fail fast, to learn, and to be able to navigate that change, in my opinion, is sort of like a superpower. I also echo Aniruddha's opinion, where I feel that the minute we grow in depth, we've got a little bit of an anchor. So our agency went bankrupt in 2020 because we had hospitality clients only prior to that. So chefs, restaurants, hotels, you know, and the likes. And I think if we were of a larger size, it would have been absolutely impossible for us to have come back from what we came back to. And we pivoted. It was hard, but we had a great team. And echoing Jolly sir, when he said that, you know, great culture was able to bring that forward. And we tripled revenue and doubled the team. So I feel that it all has its own pros and cons. It depends on what you want to take with it. Secondly, I feel that in a company of perhaps all of our sizes, culture is such an important thing, right? To be able to navigate culture, to be able to pivot with that culture as well. You're not just one cog in the wheel, you're actually making an impact. And at the end of the day, at a very spiritual human level, that's what you want to do. You want to add purpose wherever you go. So I feel that's probably a tad bit easier at our scale.
I just have a quick point to add, you know, I mean, to what you just said. We talked about data, and if we just look at data, India is probably about 4-5% of the global GDP, and Indian PR industry is about 1% of global GDP. So there exists a 5x growth, right? And if that's true, again, it might not be true for every individual agencies, but as an industry, we have that scope to grow. Then there is no other option. If you're a good agency, that you have to grow, right? Now, how do you to grow? How do you define that growth? Could be very specific to each one of us, but the next 5 years, 10 years is going to open up a lot of opportunities, which, it all depends on how we leverage those, right? So the David versus Goliath is, it kind of falls there.
और डेविड बहुत बार गोलायत को हराए. मैं अगर पहले जाके देखूं तो राम के पास बानरों की सेना थी, इमोशंस था, अफेक्शन था, कनेक्शन था, और स्किल्ड सबसे बड़ी वर्ल्ड की जो सेना थी उसको हरा के आए थे. सो डेविड और गोलियथ. लेकिन हमें हरा के नहीं जीतना है, हम जीतने के लिए और हारने का नहीं. जैसे अभी किसी ने बोला कि आपने कहा कि डेफिनेशन ऑफ सक्सेस इज़ वेरी डिफरेंट. आप कैसे डिफाइन करते हो बहुत मैटर करता है. मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि जब आज से 20 साल पहले यूएन के सेक्रेटरी जनरल ने एक वर्ड बोला था ESG, उसके बाद एक माहौल बना, और आज की डेट में अब धीरे धीरे हो रहा है कि कंपनीज़ की वैल्यूएशन ESG के कंटेंट कितना, कैसा वो प्रैक्टिसेस करते हैं. यू कैन बी वर्थ 20,000 करोड़, बट हो सकता है कि एक 50,000 करोड़ की कंपनी, 50,000 करोड़ की कंपनी 20 लाख की कंपनी से ज़्यादा वैल्यूएशन फ्यूचर में हो सकती है, बिकॉज वैल्यूएशन का पैरामीटर बदलने वाला है. जब चीज़ें कम होने लगती हैं तो वो हीरा बन जाता है. आज इन्वायरमेंट बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, सस्टेनेबिलिटी बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. हम एक छोटा सा ऑर्गेनाइजेशन चलाते हैं, एंड मैं 30% अपनी कमाई का शेड करता हूँ एवरी मंथ. माई CSS की बढ़ता क्यों नहीं है पैसा? क्योंकि मुझे पता है कि आप जब 60, 65, 70 के होंगे, और आप बड़े तब होते हैं जब दूसरे आपको बड़े कहते हैं, आप खुद से बड़े नहीं. टर्नओवर्स नेवर मेक्स यू बिग. If people say that you are the best, if people say I'm happy, you become big. And we practice that. And I think independent agencies practice करती हैं इसे.
I want to add one more thing to what Sarvesh ji said, which is that अगर Goliath नहीं होते तो David नहीं होते ना. Like, why are we against them? It's a Goliath that's created an industry. They've created a benchmark. Now we can do things differently, but I don't think it's one against the other. It's one with the other. तो अगर साथ जुड़ेंगे तभी तो मज़ा आएगा. मतलब हम लड़ क्यों रहे हैं?
So absolutely.
Goliaths can do all the boring stuff, and the smaller agencies can do the fun
Creativity
stuff.
with commerce.
But Tejal, I wanted to add, you not to kill my ambition. I do want to become big, but big is also subjective. So big where, right? You see large agencies, and I'm extrapolating, I don't know, but large agencies may be working at a contribution margin of 40-50% max, and if you're doing, maybe you're doing more, but it's going to add 15-20% at the end of the year, right? For an agency with depth, we're doing 80-85% contribution margin. And why are we able to do that is because there's not other people who do it. And so if you're able to move to a place and create that space for yourself where nobody else is doing it, you can work at margins which allow you to not only work at a level which is allowing your bottom line to thrive, but also hiring people at the right salary. So smaller agencies don't need to be beggars anymore saying, aap aake kaam karo, 50% less salary lo. Nahi, 50% zyada lo, because our margin is more. So I do want to be big, it's just where do I want to be big, right? So that's also a space that...
Right. Okay, I'm going to move to the second point. I think relationships, bigger or smaller agency, of course, we are in a business of relationships. But I think the advantage that independent agencies have is owner-to-owner connect. I think that's where that could be an advantage. But there is also a larger team which a lot of companies look out for. How do we sort of manage that? Does business-to-business, founder-to-founder connect help? The empathy that entrepreneurs get, is it an advantage to us, or has it worked otherwise? Just quick thoughts on that. Aakanksha, maybe you can start.
I'm a big believer in EQ being like leading the game, and I feel like wo client jayega bhi to kahan jayega. So let's assume he's working with a 10x company bigger than us and is looking for a certain kind of requirement. They'll have a certain kind of experience and scout for what they want to. So ultimately, market balance will come to where it needs to come. We should be able to play the longer game at a certain level and understand who we want to work with. Also, it's not just clients scouting us, it's also us scouting for the right kind of clients. It's like a marriage. Matlab, if it fits, it's great, it'll last for a lifetime. If it doesn't fit, that's also okay. So my take on it is, it's going to come basis the purpose that it needs and basis the service it needs. So eventually, it'll even out.
I'm a strong non-believer in client relationship, and I'll tell you where I'm coming from. Because at the end of the day, you're calling it relationship, right? It's a two-way street. And relationship thrives only when you contribute something, right? And to me, your ability to give value is more important than the relationship at a fundamental level, because if you are holding on to a client because you have a great relationship with the founder, then somewhere that it'll erode. So I think going back to how, I think again I'm forgetting who said what, it's been a long bunch of conversations, but the idea is what kind of value you're bringing into the table. And I think as a independent agency, we have the flexibility of saying, okay, listen, this is a long-term relationship. This relationship might not be paying me a lot now, but I see a long future, and therefore I'm going to invest a lot more into this relationship so that I can reap more maybe a couple of years down the lane. Now that flexibility a large agency will not have, because they will go by, okay fine, this is the amount of money that is coming, and therefore this is the amount of team I'm going to put or resources. So I think that ability to navigate those relationship is probably more important, and that's what will build relationship with your clients, and that's what will also one of the reasons why we have a much longer relationship with our clients, right? Which probably goes into decades. I mean, Verbly is not a decade yet, but you know where I'm coming from.
How can independent agencies build, I think, more stronger relationships, in the world where we already have Goliaths who have like strong networks, global networks, resources, etc. Where do we navigate that, and where do we find success there?
तो सबसे पहले मैं ये कहूँगा कि हमारे को अप्रीहेंशंस ना रहे और हम ये ना सोचे कि गोलायत बेचारे बहुत होते हैं, बिकॉज उनके पास ऑप्शन नहीं है. अगर मल्टी कंट्रीज मैनेजमेंट करनी है तो सिस्टम के बेसिस पे सब कुछ होगा, दे कैन नॉट. बट रिलेशनशिप, हमारे सामने मदन बहल सर बैठे हुए हैं. रिश्तों में अगर एक छोटी सी बच्ची बैठी हुई थी, उससे भी वैसे ही बात किया. एयरपोर्ट पे मैं मिला, उससे भी ऐसे ही बात किया. और आप कितने बड़े शहंशाह हैं, आपसे भी वैसे ही बात करेंगे. रिश्ते बहुत अहम है. आज इतने लोग यहाँ पे बोलेंगे, उसमें से कंटेंट की बात हुई थी, मैं उधर खींच के लाऊंगा बीच में, क्योंकि मैं कुछ बोलना चाहता तो. बट रिश्ते बहुत अहम है, और सारी दुनिया रिश्ते. मैं ग्रेजुएशन में फ़ेल हुआ था, मैं पढ़ने वाला आदमी नहीं हूँ. मेरे पास बहुत लोग आते हैं, बोल के जाते किताबें पढ़ो किताबें. मैंने किताब पढ़ा ही नहीं कभी. मैंने सिर्फ आदमी पढ़ा. पूरी ज़िंदगी में लोगों को पढ़ता हूँ, और मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि बहुत कुछ सीखा मैंने लोगों से. मैं अगर ऑब्जर्वेशन करता हूँ, यहाँ बैठे हुए कौन आदमी कैसे सोचता है, क्या करता है, और वो प्रैक्टिस में लेके आता हूँ. 90% रिटेंशन ऑफ क्लाइंट्स है हमारा, और ये कागज़ में नहीं है. यू कैन आस्क एनीबडी. आप इतनी इंडिपेंडेंट एजेंसी है, प्लीज़ मेरे को आप लोग अपने यहाँ असेस करके बताइएगा कि मेरे यहाँ के कितने लोग आपके यहाँ गए. यू विल हार्डली फाइंड एनीबडी. इट विल बी वन, एक किसी के यहाँ गया होगा या दो गया होगा. तो सारे लोग मेरे पास है. क्यों? क्योंकि रिश्तों को अहमियत दी. सद्दाम हुसैन को कुछ नहीं आता, 3 साल तक मैंने सिखाया कि बेटा कोई बात नहीं, कल तू कर लेगा, परसों कर लेगा, तरसों कर लेगा. वो फेथ, वो विश्वास, और उधर से भी वापस आता है जब आप देते हो, हमेशा दुगुना मिलता है. एक चीज़ मैं इसमें बार बार जब बहुत लोग बात कर रहे थे AI, जनरेटिव चैट GPT, जनरेटिव AI और बाकी सारी चीज़ें, तो उस समय मुझे बहुत ध्यान आ रहा था एक चीज़ की, हम जो जनरेटिव AI जो भारतीयों का है, इमोशंस जो है, मैं रोया परदेश में, भीगा माँ का प्यार, दुख ने दुख से बात की, बिन चिट्ठी बिन तार. हम वो लोग हैं कि अगर आप परदेश में रोते हो, आपकी माँ को यहाँ पे रोना आ जाता है. कोई जनरेटिव AI ये नहीं कर सकता. सो जनरेटिव AI और ये सब चीज़ें कभी ब्रेक नहीं कर सकती हमारी मौजूदगी को. प्लस ये कूड़ा इतना ज़्यादा भर जाएगा ना. लोग कह रहे थे कि प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. प्रॉब्लम ये है कि जनरेटिव AI 40, अभी बॉस्टन कंसल्टिंग का एक रिपोर्ट था कि 40% ऑफ क्रिएटिव माइंड ऑफ राइट ब्रेन इज डिस्ट्रॉयड बिकॉज ऑफ यूज ऑफ जनरेटिव AI. ये कितना बड़ा चैलेंज. अगर आप अपने बच्चों को, ठीक है आप पैसा दे रहे हैं, आप 1 लाख मिलना चाहिए, उसको 2 लाख दे रहे हैं, बट अगर आपको उस प्रैक्टिस में लेके जा रहे हैं तो आप वो पाप कर रहे हैं जो 10 साल बाद उसको जगह नहीं मिलेगी बाजार में. गूगल पे क्या होगा? जनरेटिव AI का अगला फ्यूचर क्या है? आज हम उसी कंटेंट को उठा के रिहैश करके डाले जा रहे हैं. What is going to happen after 10 years? When you are searching, you will get all those kudas which has been flushed there. So ultimately नया कुछ होगा ही नहीं. So ठीक है, बहुत अच्छी चीज़ें हैं, बहुत सारी चीज़ें हैं, बट एज अ रिस्पॉन्सिबल सिटीजन्स हमें अपनी टीम को ज़रूर ये सिखाना चाहिए कि भाई आप कुछ इनोवेशन की बात करो, कुछ आइडिएशन. मैं जब भी बैठता हूँ मैं आइडिएशन की बात करता हूँ. एक आदमी वहाँ गिर रहा है, उसको कैसे उठाना है, इसके ऊपर भी तुम आइडिया दो. तुम कैसे उठाओगे? क्या तुम झुक के उठाओगे? क्या तुम बैठ के उठाओगे? क्या तुम 5 मिनट उसको दोगे? तो इससे इमोशन चेक करता हूँ मैं. सो ये सारी चीज़ें अभी बहुत ज़रूरी है. मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि जो नेचुरल वैल्यू फॉर रिलेशनशिप, एसोसिएशन, इमोशंस, ये कंटेंट जो है, इंटेंट ऑफ कंटेंट इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट एंड वी ऑल शुड वर्क ऑन दैट. दैट इज़ माई टेक.
Oh, lovely. Thanks a ton for that. Aniruddha, what are the best ways you think, according to you, that will help retain clients, while competing or collaborating with the larger firms? Any interesting examples, maybe, that you can think of?
No, I think I don't see client relationships as a difference between small and giant. I think it's just based on the culture of the organization. I've seen large customers who have excellent relationships with customers and they will never leave them no matter what because they're attached to the culture. I think that relationships are like what was said also in terms of contribution. I think that's very important, and understanding of the business. I think if you're able to understand their business, they trust you. And I've always heard, like, when I started, it's like you should have the year of the CEO. Like, okay, you should have the year of the CEO. I realized after 10 years is that the CEO should feel he has my year. And I want to be one of the top 5 calls when anything extremely good or extremely bad happens in my customer. I want to be one of his top 5 calls. And I'm grateful that at least for a few of them, I am. That's a relationship. Because I think a lot of times we treat our work like how traditional services firms, and I don't know why we picked this up from IT. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, this is just me, but sending birthday cards to our customers and wishing them. I've never wished a single customer Happy Diwali, Happy New Year, birthday or anything. But I'm still the first person they call when something happens. And that is because I'm not there to make friends. I want this relationship to be of trust, right? And so, of course, some of my customers have become friends over time, but I think the relationship ka context needs to be set right? We are here to do some work together and that needs to be great. If they trust you on that, I think that's the relationship, and I don't see a difference between small and large.
I'm just going to move a bit on the technology, though technology has been covered a lot. But just that, how are the independent firms integrating technology, in our offerings? And is there, just Aakanksha, if you can give, in your services?
I think I'm not going to talk about AI and all of that because it's been spoken about to death today. But I just want to concentrate on social listening. Social listening tools, at least for like companies, again, of our size, I don't know. I don't have the budgets to have a very massive tracking team. I don't think I have some colleagues who are old enough to be able to have the sentiment analysis capability. So I feel technology cuts my time into half from just social listening. I'm able to make better decisions. I'm able to craft narratives in a deeper way. So that's my take on it. I think just very small, it's not a very big behemoth. I mean, I think small tools take us really, really far. So for me, social listening has been a game changer.
Kind of subscribe to what you just said, right? At the end of the day, I mean, I'm sure a lot of us started our PR journey when we used to fax stuff. So if we move to what we're doing today, it's just a normal transition of how the ecosystem is. And therefore, certain technologies have to be adopted, whether we like it or not. Some of these technologies will evolve as we go forward. Generative AI is one of them. But one of the areas where I am keenly focusing on at Verbly is to figure out how to manage workflow. As a small agency, I think, and as a small agency which is still in a semi-hybrid mode, it's very important that I manage workflow management better. And I think that's an area which can really bridge the gap between the large agencies and the independent agencies in how are you monitoring, managing, and optimizing team time. I think that's what I would focus on.
So मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि जो हम ये कह रहे हैं कि लार्ज एजेंसी, स्मॉल एजेंसी और AI थोड़ा ज़्यादा ही हो गया है, बट क्या है ना, ये एप्लीकेशंस बहुत आसान है. मतलब एवरीबडी कैन, आप एक बहुत बड़ा एप्लीकेशन बनाते हो, IIT का बच्चा जाता है 6 बना के फेंक देता है. सो इट इज़ अवेलेबल फॉर एवरीबडी, स्मॉल एजेंसी, लार्ज एजेंसी, एंड एवरीबडी इज़ यूजिंग AI. जब तक पता नहीं होता है, जब जान लोगे तो मान लोगे वाली बात है. जब तक हमें पता नहीं होता हम यूज़ नहीं करते, जिस दिन पता चल जाता है हम यूज़ करने लगते हैं. बेसिक, मतलब दिस इज़ स्ट्रेट अवे आंसर टू इट. पर मैं कहाँ पे यूज़ करता हूँ ज़्यादा आज की डेट में, जो सोशल लिसनिंग की आपने बात की, मैं सोशल डिस्ट्रॉयर्स को आइडेंटिफाई करने के लिए यूज़ करता हूँ. क्योंकि हम क्राइसिस मैनेजमेंट का काफ़ी काम करते हैं और हम जाके ब्लॉक लेवल पे, गांव पंचायत लेवल पे बहुत सारी मिनिस्ट्रीज़ का काम कर रहे हैं, यूएन की 3 बॉडी का काम कर रहे हैं, तो वहाँ पे आज की डेट में ये सोशल इन्फ्लुएंसर्स थोड़े ही सोशल डिस्ट्रॉयर्स हैं. उनको आइडेंटिफाई करना कि कौन ट्रबल मेकर्स हो सकता है, उसने अभी तक क्या नेगेटिव लिखे हैं, किस तरीके की नेगेटिविटी लिखता है. मुझे लगता है मुझे सबसे ज़्यादा फ़ायदा इन सब टूल से यही हुआ है कि मुझे पता है ये मेरा डिस्ट्रॉयर है. अगर आप आइडेंटिफाई कर लोगे, आप अपने आप बच के आगे निकल जाओगे. सो आई हैव बीन बेनिफिटेड बाय दैट.
But do you think like investing in digital transformation, is important and critical for future of the company?
तो इन्वेस्टमेंट बहुत ज़्यादा नहीं लगता है, ये भ्रम है. बहुत सस्ते टूल्स हैं. एक दवाई जो बहुत महंगी मिलती है उसकी जेनरिक दवाई भी बाज़ार में मिलती है. सो वॉट एवर यू कैन अफोर्ड, बट इट इज़ देयर, इट इज़ ईजिली अवेलेबल. आप गूगल ऐप पे जाके जो चाहिए डाल दो, आपको 70 आ जाएंगे, उसमें से आप सस्ता वाला चुन लो, महंगा वाला चुन लो. ये सब कहानी है. सो ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. एवरीबडी कैन अफोर्ड ऑल AI टूल्स. इट इज़ नॉट कॉस्टली, बिलीव यू मी.
Aniruddha, would you like to take that?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that it's not the investment. I think it's the mindset. And I want to not stay away from Gen AI and talk specifically about Gen AI because we are in an industry that's supposed to generate. So I think we should embrace this. What I feel is that, I studied myself on this. Ki why do I feel guilty when I use ChatGPT? ऐसा मैंने article खुद को लिखा था. And I realized that I felt guilty because it's not me. So then I'm like, but I still want to use it. But it's not me. It's like, it generates something. So I'm like, okay, what if it could be me? And it's weird that I'm going to share this, but I've started talking to my ChatGPT. Like, मैं ऐसा बात करता हूँ. I have clients पे folders है. And okay, I'll tell you an example. So I was writing a speech for a CEO, and like specifically he's like, please आप लिखो. So I said, I wrote, and I was going through on a call with him, and he said, Aniruddha, ये word मैं कभी pronounce नहीं कर सकता. I have had problems with this all my life. Please don't use this word. Like, okay, fine. I went to ChatGPT. Don't ever say this word in this client again. मैं rule book डाला उसमें. Now the point is that if I can make my GPT as close to me as possible, now I won't feel guilty. So this is the way I've gotten out of myself and my guilt. But my point is, I feel that 10 years from now, and this has already happened, like in Netflix did coding pairs a long time ago. Imagine if you have a working pair where one of your pairs is actually an AI bot, right? And I go and I take an interview with an MNC, I mean, if Ideosphere fails and I have to get a job. And so I'll go and say, hey, listen, I have 20 years of experience and I have 10 years of a trained ChatGPT bot across 50 customers in these use cases. That's mine, right? So you could do that, and that is how you should embrace this space, right?
Okay. I'm going to move to niche expertise because that's something we all speak when it comes to independent companies. Aakanksha, to you maybe to begin with, how can independent companies develop specialized expertise, and just capitalize on niche markets?
I'd like to share how I did it, perhaps, if that gives any context. We pride ourselves in somehow being able to marry creativity with commerce. I think the reason we get picked up a lot is because we are great at narrative building. So if there's something really tough to communicate, या फिर जैसे सर ने कहा something very basic to communicate ना, वो हमारे पास आते हैं क्योंकि हम बस simple कर देते हैं सब चीज़ें. So now niche is not just me being the best AI consultant, like a Text 100, right? Like great at tech. I don't think it's just great at one industry. It's also very, very good at a certain kind of service. And certain things are basic, like you have to be excellent at research. You have to have a nose for the, for the news. So, अगर वो कुछ चीज़ें basic हैं, and if you realize your core in either a service that you do or a core in an industry that you do, a niche and a specialization just develops in its own. The second innings of TOC, which is after 2020, we realized that earlier we had sectoral expertise. We were excellent at one space, and we were one of the top 5 in that space. And मतलब पता था कि ये client आने ही वाला है, अभी नहीं आएगा, like I said, 3 महीने बाद आएगा. But after 2020, we developed experience expertise. So if you come here and this is what you need, we're excellent at that. And then they trust you to have fun, to do a bunch of other stuff as well. So we're a very young company. I feel like there's a lot to learn from everybody. But I feel that what we've learned with great experience, the client says, ठीक है, आपको trust है. Why don't you try this with us? If we fail, it's okay. कोशिश तो करी हमने, कुछ नया सीखा साथ में. So I feel that experience, trust, and developing a service expertise is probably a good way to go.
I kind of again agree to what you're saying. I think that a niche could be multiple ways of looking at niche, right? One is niche in terms of what sector you're good at. And you look at hospitality, right? And niche can also be in terms of your process. How well do you do something? What kind of engagement that you build. So it could be seen multiple ways, but I think one of the ways that independent agencies, especially small agencies, right, can build niche is in focusing on how do you build teams that have the capacity to deliver what you can deliver, right? I think one of the biggest problems that we all face is, you invariably are the friend of your organization, no matter what. I think if you can build that, then the biggest advantage that a large agency can claim of expertise, right, can be nullified when you have leaders. And I think the previous panel was talking about how each of the employees is thinking like a founder. I think that ability to build teams, and I think and as small agencies and independent agencies, we have the inherent DNA to do that, of building teams and treating them well and then giving them long time to adapt. I think our niche should be building great teams who are connected to the brand and then let them figure out how they want to connect to the clients and in what way.
मुझे लगता है कि भारत इतना बड़ा विहंगम है, इट्स सो ग्रेट कंट्री, और कई सारे देश भारत में समा गए हैं. सो इतनी वैरायटी है. अगर आप भारत में ही सारे स्टेट को कैटर करते हैं तो आप विश्व के 20-25 कंट्रियों में काम कर रहे होते हैं, ऐसा आपका एक्सपीरियंस होता है. और नीश करने के लिए आप डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल पे काम कर सकते हैं. आप इतनी वैरायटी है. मैं चंपारण से आता हूँ, एक चंपारण मटन बनाया किसी ने. मैं दुबई से, लुलू मॉल वाले कहते हैं यहाँ भी है चंपारण मटन. उसने नीश बना लिया चंपारण मटन. एक वही मटन के 50 तरीके की चीज़ें निकाल के लोग स्पेशलाइज कर लेते हैं. सो आई थिंक इंडिया में नीश कोई फ़र्क नहीं पड़ता हमारे लिए. होता कैसे ये बनता है, फाउंडर जब कोई काम शुरू करता है तो उसके एक्सपीरियंस और उसकी एक्सपर्टीज़ से वो नीश क्रिएट होता है. मैं रियल एस्टेट और इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में काम किया था, तो मेरे पहले क्लाइंट L&T, दिल्ली मेट्रो, DLF थे. बिकॉज फिर क्या, मेरी जानकारी थी तो उसी तरीके के लोग आए, तो फिर मैं उसमें नीश बनता गया. फिर एक दिन वही बोर्ड रूम और ब्रॉड रोड स्ट्रेटजी हमने बैठ के करी कि आगे क्या हो सकता है. तो आप प्लान करके नीश बना सकते हो या ऑटोमेटिकली नीश बनते जाता है. बिकॉज आप यू गेट बिजनेस, यू फॉलो इट, यू परफॉर्म एंड देन यू बिकम एक्सपर्ट ऑफ दैट. सो दैट इज़ द बेसिक प्रैक्टिस ऑफ बिकमिंग नीश. एंड आई थिंक इंडिया हैज़ अ लॉट ऑफ अपॉर्चुनिटी टू बिकम नीश. कुछ भी कर सकते हो आप, वेराइटी है, बहुत ज़्यादा स्पेस है.
I think when it comes to building niche, one of the things that we've realized is that whatever niche aspect you're building, if you put the customer at the center, like what problem is this niche solving? And if it's not solved, you're going to fail anyways. But if it's solving a real problem, and even if that problem is to only a handful of people, it still gives you the confidence that if a handful of people have this problem, I'll find more people, yeah, and I'll go chase these problems. And that's what, when you're finding a niche, you create these solutions for these niche problems, and then you go and you try to talk about it. So for us, when we chose messaging, a lot of clients think messaging is rubbish. Like, this is a day's job and we do it in 4 months. And a lot of customers feel that what we do is incredibly valuable and pay us a great premium. Now, as the leader of the business, my job is to say, how can I increase that pie? So my job is to go and market this problem. So we created this, and to look at the example, we created this podcast called Consequence of a Message, where we talk about like all the messages that CEOs deliver and the consequences they face from it. What am I trying to do? I'm like, hey, listen, if a message has consequence, it can have possibility. So here are the consequences, and I'm trying to grow the market to saying, then come to us to develop possibilities from those messages. So I think that's how you should build a niche. You focus on that problem and go and market that problem, and then all the solution is with you because you've built that niche and you're, an inch wide, mile deep type of space.
Right. Do we have?
I think we should wrap up now.
Okay. I wanted to touch upon talent, etc., but I think it's spoken enough. So, but just last thoughts, maybe. Does collaboration work? I think we've been discussing offline. I think collaboration is something that can be of a great advantage with an independent agency compared to the larger ones. Has it worked for us? And if so, any examples, if anyone can give any examples on that? We'll end it with that.
I have a very contrary opinion on this. I don't think collaboration is anything new. I think when a child is learning to grow up or take their first steps, it's taking its mother's hand to walk, right? So I don't think collaboration is anything new. We found a great new marketing term to sell it. It's different if you mean that, okay, I essentially offer a PR service and now, you know, my client also needs video, तो मैंने किसी को पकड़ के वो दे दिया. I don't think that's collaboration in that sense. I think it's just offering an added-on service. So I feel collaboration in the true sense, in my opinion, is actually just working with the client, saying what are your needs and what we can do on that space. So I don't think collaboration is new. It's been in our DNA forever. So everything we do is collaboration.
I think a lot of times the collaboration also comes for us. Like, of course, collaboration is good. Like, to single answer to your question, yeah, of course it's good. Now, it's hard to make it work. I have at least failed 99 times on to collaborate, so I don't have a good story for you. But the point is, sometimes the customers actually push us to collaborate. Like I was just telling somebody this morning that one of our customers we did all this messaging for, and he called me up and this is like a year ago we did this messaging and we've done it for website and all, and he's opening up this large factory. He's like, yeah, I need you to do the internal branding of this factory. I'm like, Akshay, we're not an interior design company. That's not what I do. I don't care. Make it happen. I literally had to go and find an interior design company to work with my messaging team to ensure that his office looks like our messaging deck. I mean, that's what it looks like now. But the point is that he wanted to get those messaging in through visual, through film, through whatever. So the client has a problem or has some requirement, and that kind of forces you to collaborate. What I feel is, from a collaboration perspective, wherever the client forces us to collaborate, we make it work. Like, there's no choice, so it works. Where we decide proactively कि चल हम collaborate करेंगे, partner ecosystem करेंगे. In my experience, 99% of the times it's failed, but I will still be stupid and continue to do it because I know that's the only way. So it's like, you know, it's a double-edged sword. You have to continue to do it and take your wins. Yeah.
Any questions?
We have one.
Whole conversation of David versus Goliath, who's the damn Goliath there?
You're a David. You're a David, we are the Goliath.
So what is this whole debate about? Who's the Goliath, I want to know?
So if I can answer that, I think PR industry is a David here. You know, and I think I'll go back to what Nandita was mentioning. We have let go of a lot of area that was traditionally intended to be done by a PR agency. And if you see what has happened globally, a lot of things that we have given to niche spaces like advocacy, influencer management, social media is technically part of PR, right? We've kind of let go of a lot of those things, and I think PR industry in its totality is David.
सर मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि अब गोलायत की जब बात हो रही थी तो ग्लोबल एजेंसीज़ के बारे में बात हो रही है, क्योंकि वो उठाते हैं और काम दे देते हैं. कोका कोला है तो सर कहाँ चले गए, उनको दे दो क्योंकि वहाँ भी कर रहे हैं यहाँ भी कर रहे हैं, हमारा कुछ हक बनता है. आई रिसेंटली वेंट फॉर अ पिच फॉर अ जापानीज़ कंपनी, और मुझे पता है कि मेरे से ज़्यादा अच्छा पिच किसी ने नहीं दिया. जो आपने बोला ना कि प्रॉब्लम आइडेंटिफाई करो एंड नीश क्रिएट होगा, जो मैंने प्रॉब्लम आइडेंटिफाई की और जिसका सॉल्यूशन मेरे पास पूरा था, और मुझे पता है दूसरे जिसको सिर्फ क्योंकि वो दूसरी जापानी कंपनी है उन्होंने लास्ट में उठा के उसको काम दे दिया. तो मुझे लगता है इसको गोलायत कहते हैं. थोड़ा सा मौका मिलना चाहिए हम बच्चों को भी इधर.
A Goliath is powerful and influential. Amit is the Goliath in this room.
सर्वेश जी, मेरे को आपने मंत्र मुग्ध कर दिया अपनी हिंदी सुना करके. पहली तो बहुत ही आपको मेरी तरफ से बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं. बहुत ही बढ़िया आप हिंदी बोलते हैं, दिल पे ले लिया, बिल्कुल मज़ा आ गया सुन करके. या बिल्कुल. मैं सिर्फ एक छोटी सी चीज़ बोल करके, सर ना रणभूमि जो है ना वो बहुत बड़ी है. हाँ, कुरुक्षेत्र को तो पूरा ही देखना है हम लोगों ने, तो हथियार पूरा रखिए जैसे अनिरुद्ध बोल रहा है. ठीक है, हथियार पूरा रखिए. चैट जीपीटी हथियार है, हथियार पूरा रखिए. कहाँ छोड़ना है वो आपको पता है. धन्यवाद.
हमने कोलेबोरेशन की बात रास्ते में बाहर की थी, हम आजू बाजू में हैं. विल कोलेबोरेट एंड आवर विल बी सक्सेसफुल, आई फील.
Thank you so much.